decrypt the the message. Okay, so the SMIME it means is actually secured. Okay, we know MIME. Okay, it is multi-purpose internet mail extension. Okay, so what is SMIME? So SMIME is a standard for public key encryption and signing. Okay, so let me actually just start with like basic questions. How do we actually like solve this? So SMIME actually SMIME in Outlook we actually the mean there are different features and options. First one is we actually the simplest one is called encryption only. Second option is signing. Okay. Third one is encryption with certificate. Okay. Then we have Linux like a Microsoft kind of implementation, and it's called information rights management. So you manage the rights of a message. Okay. So let me actually just start with like this picture. Okay, start with this picture. Okay. So let's see. Actually, we want actually the first option. We want actually Outlook encryption only. Okay, let's actually check this picture. Okay. So if you actually on the left side is the sender. You want to actually send a message to a recipient. Okay. How do you actually encrypt this message and won't allow the other people see your message? Okay, so this is the simplest one. Okay, so what happens is we actually know in order to actually to encrypt a message and let the receiver to decrypt the message, we either use symmetric encryption or the asymmetric encryption. Okay, so now look at this. So if you actually want for the email, you send a message to the recipient. It is actually recipient to decrypt the message. So which means it is actually we use the what we call the asymmetric encryption. So only one side to decrypt. Okay, and you don't need to actually say like a back and forth like internet let's say HTTP protocol. So you don't need to actually use the same symmetrical key to actually decrypt the keys. So this is the basic, of course, these days they have a more complicated, algorithm, but in basic is like this. Okay, so you want to send a message. So the first one is the recipient. Okay, the key is the recipient is going to create the pair of keys. Okay. I cannot hear you. Yeah.
Carl, are you recording this?
Elizabeth. Carl
Elizabeth?
is recording the
Okay.
recording
Okay.
thing.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
So what happened is I'm not going to into detail. How do you actually generate this pair of keys? So usually we use the RSA algorithm to generate a pair of keys. Okay, now the sender send a message. I want to encrypt this one. Okay, so the recipient use the RSA to generate a pair of keys. Okay, so then the recipient, okay, when you after send a message, they establish the the protocol, the send message, what is called the protocol, the mail protocol, and the recipient send the public keys to the sender. Okay, so now sender compose the message, encrypt the key with public key, and send it to the recipient, and the recipient decrypt the key. Okay, so that is RSA algorithm. So what happened is I can actually demo this. Okay, so so I actually you can actually look at my the message. Okay, I have a message with encrypted only. Okay, so look at this one. So this message is encrypted only key. So I can actually send. Okay, so let's see, send it to Hiro. Okay, send it to Hiro, and message with, okay, in with encryption only. Okay, when encryption only, uh, so encryption only, then I send out. Okay, so in that case, we don't need any certificate. So the key, it is actually generate on the fly. So it actually will contact the recipient. Recipient use RSA to generate a pair of keys and send to the sender. Sender use the public keys to send the message, encrypt the message, and send to the recipient. Recipient already keep the private key. Okay, the key is actually it's kept, by the recipient. Recipient use the private key to decrypt the message, and we done. So that is the first one. So in that case, we don't have any certificate to actually involved. Okay, so that is the first option. Okay, so you don't need to do anything right now. In our company's environment, you can actually send like encrypted message keys, and user actually got it. Okay, but we actually have a face of a challenge. Okay, what is the challenge is? So what happened is we call the man in the middle attack. What does the middle attack mean? So let's say some people like eavesdrops in the communication. Okay, so what happened is, let's say I want to actually send a message. Okay, look at this title. It's called public key cryptography for communication. So when this actually, so it actually established the mail protocol. The somebody in the middle is actually listening. So then remember, the the recipient generate a private and a public key pair and send back to the sender. In the middle, let's say somebody actually uh, intercept this key. So the middleman, it actually got the recipient pair of keys. So what happened is he said, now I'm in the middle. Then he actually generate his own pair of keys. Let's say use the same algorithm, RSA, and send to the passing to the sender. In that case, sender didn't know this one is from the middleman, so he will actually use the attacker's public key and encrypt it. Okay, the message. So the sender, the middleman, the attacker used, because this actually the key, the sender, encrypt with, it is actually is the attack's, key. So he is going to decrypt with his private key, okay, and read the message, and it re-encrypt, okay, re-encrypt with real recipient's key, and send it to it, okay. Then it actually the recipient will receive it. So now the recipient still receive the valid key, okay, a valid message. But what happened is the middleman already read this message. So this called a middleman attack. Is quite popular. So people can eavesdrop even if you actually have encrypted message, and it is actually it actually can read your email. Okay. So what happened is this. This is a challenge. Now, how do you actually solve this challenge, right? So and a couple of people, a couple of a crypto experts and come together, and they actually designed. They said is this, okay? You want to actually know this key pair of keys is from the sender or from the recipient. So what happened is we actually now we invented for this reason, of course, it is actually also for the HTTP protocols, other like transaction protocols like e-commerce. So they actually said, why not, okay, issue certificate. So what is the certificate? Certificate is you have a you actually like tied up the public uh, keys with your email address. Okay. So what happened is in this case, if you actually the recipient, okay, the recipient send the pair of keys back to the sender, it is not only send the in the pair of keys, it sends a certificate with it. Okay, certificate is nothing but a pair of keys with the email address to it. Okay, of course, we know the certificate. It actually is identity with a pair of keys. Okay, with keys. In this case, a public key. So so what happened is it actually said, in the SMIME in the context, it is email address. Okay, so it is email address with the with a pair of keys. Okay, so that is the key actually involved to understand SMIME type. SMIME. The key to under SMIME, that is the how do you actually got the keys. Okay, so when I actually got started, we can actually, so I want to actually install uh, SMIME like key or SMIME certificate. Okay, so if you have SMIME certificate, then we can actually do more like more things. So what happens is, how do I do it? So usually the key can be issued by the domain, SMIME server. But I asked many times, asked our like you know, like a testing department, and no one actually willing to do. Then I thought like then suddenly hit me, can I actually buy a certificate? Okay, so I have my email address called vincent.wood at imanage.com. Can I actually buy a certificate? It actually is. I find out, I can buy a certificate. So I say, so what happened is I actually went to this site. There's a couple of sites. Usually it is actually the I want a free one first, so I went to this site. Okay, it's called Sectical. I find out there's a couple of like very famous site that you can actually buy certificate. Okay, buy the certificate. The certificate is Cetico is one side, is Komodo is the sec. Komodo is actually Komodo and Cetico is one company. I think they actually issue this kind of like S-MINE certificate. Okay, now you can buy different certificate. You can actually say, in the website you can buy the domain, HTTP domain certificate. But this one is email certificate. So I go there. So for me, it is actually I buy like personal email certificate with that, because I thought like it is very interesting to actually do. So I buy the certificate. So I buy certificate. You send me email, and he send me a link. It says that you can install the certificate. It is not through like a download or something. It use the HTTP protocol to actually install the certificate. Okay, it's a fascinating. So what happened is I find out is I get it says I fill out a form. It says Vincent.wu something something. Then he said I give you a link. You install certificate. I cannot install. It happens out is in order to download the certificate from the website, you can only use certain browsers. Okay, you cannot use Chromium. Okay, you can use Firefox and IE. They still support the import. Okay, so he sent me a file and link, and I just click, and yeah, it is actually it coming to my certificate. Let's see where the certificate is. So I go to the a file option, trust center, and trust center. And you see, there's email. Then I find out that's called email security. Okay, the email security, it is actually have a default setting. Did you see? These are the lots of things that are happening on on this page. So one thing it is actually is this one. Did you see? It is my SMIME setting is Vincent Wu. This is the certificate. Okay, so it actually doing it. Okay, so now the certificate it actually give you some information there. So this is identity. So I don't he don't even know my like real name or company name or domain. I don't he don't need he just need my email address. So this certificate it says this is verified email address and this is certificate you can actually use in the SMI. So, and of course, you have some other things like encryption algorithm. For the simplicity, I actually just use the RSA algorithm. We know use the Euler the Euler's Tolkien functions and Euclid to generate this kind of public key and private key. But this one it is actually is use AES algorithm, 256 algorithm to generate the public key and the private key. Of course, you have the hash algorithm to find out the message. So this one and so the certificate. Then I look at it in detail and the certificate. So now I can actually use my certificate, okay, to do something. Okay, do something. Then I went home. Eh, but my at home my certificate is not there, right? I cannot actually use the certificate. Then I find out is how do I actually make my home is also working. So then I do a little bit investigating and find out is the Sectigo it install this certificate into this place, okay, in the personal certificate. And I look at it in detail, okay. In detail is this is the certificate. Did you see that issued by Sectigo RSA client authentication and secure this one, and this one. So okay, now in this certificate, we actually know issued by Sectigo, it actually have three things there. Okay, a couple of things there. One thing is the email address. It is my tied up with. Second one, that is a pair of keys. Okay, in this certificate, okay, it has not only the public keys and the private keys. So I want to actually work at home. I want to actually make it to work. So what I do, I did I just did a test. Okay, at home. So here I just say copy messages. Okay, I mean copy the file and I go there and I want actually like the the export, right? So okay, export. So now when you actually want to export, we want to actually export not in at home. I want to actually not export the uh, you know uh, the private keys. I also want actually export the private key too. Okay, so if you actually export this cert, it's only it will include the public key. Okay, but I want this one. Okay, for some reason it is actually it's when imported it is actually last time I actually exported. Okay, let me check. Okay, detail export. Okay, weird. So last time it actually is a personal information exchange. We have two different kind of certificate. One is the .cer, that is the public one. Okay, only public key, no private key. But if you have a PFX, that personal information exchange, it can export the private key. I export the private key. I have a certificate. Let me just check. Okay, I have a certificate. I exported. So I actually got exported certificate. Okay, let me check. This one can export. Also not. Okay, for some reason. Okay, so the certificate I can actually export with the public key and the private key, and I install at home. Everything is working. Okay, so that is the certificate. It automatically it populate this one because Windows and Outlook understand this is the SMIME certificate, and it will in the drag drop. I think you can actually import it like more than one. Let's say one is from the Sectigo, one is from the iManage, and this. Okay, so now with this certificate, uh, the the certificate it also have another use. Okay, so now we actually have a certificate. Second one, okay, and okay, so second option, okay, second option it is actually is a signing. So what is the signing mean is I actually Vincent already have a have a like certificate. Then I actually send to let's say hello a message, right? In the hello message, maybe somebody tried to impersonate me. It says this is actually from the vincentwu.imanage.com. I send you a message. He said, how do you know this is really from the Vincent.wu? So this is what happened. Okay. So we are going to actually sign this message. So it will be authenticated with Vincent.wu. So so the algorithm it will look like this. So I have a message. Okay. I have a certificate with me. Okay. I have a certificate with me. Okay. Now I actually use for RSA you have pair of keys. Okay, usually the algorithms look like this. Okay, this as the asymmetrical. You can use the public key to encrypt, and you can use the private to decrypt. Okay, but you can also use the private key to encrypt and the public key to decrypt. Okay, when you actually send the certificate across the network, you are not going to send the private keys certificate PFX. You want to actually only send the cert with the certificate without the private key. So signing is look like this. Okay, I have the certificate. Okay, then I actually use my I get a message. Okay, now for signing, the message itself is clear text. Okay, it is not encrypted. Okay, so but it actually verify the recipient can verify you actually found authenticated like a sender, like the vincentwu.imanage.com. So what happened is the algorithm is you actually use the private key to encrypt it to encrypt it. Okay, it actually is encrypted. Okay, but this message it will send to the recipient with the certificate. That certificate only include the public key. Then go to the recipient. Recipient because the recipient get the public key, use public key to decrypt the message, and it says, "Oh, this is good." Okay, you actually it is as a message you can. So now look at this one. Although it is encrypted, not clear text. Any recipient, let's say I send it to hello, but intercepted by say Tony, okay, Anthony Philip. Anthony Philip can look at the message, use the certificate, you get out of the public key, still can decrypt the message. Everybody can see the message, okay, but it is actually but it actually can you can say this certificate use the certificate to authenticate this message is really from the Vincent.wu. Okay, Vincent.wu. It is actually it's a real message is come down. That is the second option. Let me actually just demo it for the case of message. So I actually ask Haro, Haro help me a lot, about this because for this testing I require like two people to actually communicate with each other. Okay, so you actually have this message. It is easy. This one is signed. Okay, signed. I actually receive a message. I'm a recipient. Hiro is sender. Sender use the certificate, use Hiro's certificate to sign it. So I actually can go, if you actually look at this message, and you will see a ribbon, a small little man with ribbon. It says digital signature is trusted. So I can look at this one, the message, and it says there's a digital signature. This is very trusted because the sectical is a valid one. You can look at the detail. Hey, this this it is the is this the is the Hyros certificate. So it's a Commonwealth certificate, and we know this certificate, it is actually use the algorithm with the RSA algorithm with the hash SHA-1, and we actually got this one. Okay, we take it in interest. Okay, so that is the message itself is signing, and as this message, I can actually do this. Let's see, I have a hello. I can actually, if I already have a SMIME certificate, the certificate actually use the two purpose. One is signing, one is the encrypt. So what happens is I can send to anybody. Let's say Vela. Okay, so test, and I can go option. Okay, so now I go signing. Okay, so now it's turned on. You see, I can actually sign it. Okay, now we're done. Okay, okay, so this is the thing. Okay, now we're coming down to the last one. That is the third option. Okay, it's called encryption with SMIME. Okay, so now we actually know for encrypted only, okay, uh, for this case, they just use pair of keys, but we cannot verify, okay, it is really from the Hiro or not, right? Now we have this one. Now we actually have the final one. In case we want actually encryption with SMIME, we need two certificates. Okay, the sender certificate for signing, for the recipient certificate for encryption. Okay, so let's say you got a message. Okay, you got a message. You actually use the sender, let's say Vincent Wu's certificate private key to encrypt to actually encrypt a message. This encrypted message will be encrypted again. Use recipient's certificate. Okay, use recipient certificate. Okay, the recipient certificate will encrypt with the private key and coming back, and you send there. Now, in the case of the recipient, we use its recipient's public key to decrypt, then use the sender's public key to decrypt again. Okay, so we actually have this, the whole thing that is called SMIME. Okay, now the SMIME, the certificate from the recipient used for the encryption. Okay, for the sender certificate for an authentication. Now we have a complete one thing cycle. Okay, now let me actually just demo this. Okay, okay, now I have Hiro's certificate, but the Hiro certificate is not issued to me. So the certificate, you need to use Hiro certificate for encryption, right? So this one. So, but I actually already, in the case of signing, I already saw his certificate. My certificate is already in here, right? We can actually just see. I want demo again, so you will never forget. So you got interest center. My certificate is already in there. So now I have two certificates. Okay, I'm going to send a Hiro one. Okay, send Hiro. Okay, let me actually just check. Okay, let me actually send the Vela. Okay, okay, Vela. I see send. Oh, sorry. So I want to actually do this encrypt. Okay, encryption. Okay, now we know. Okay, I can do this. I can sign. I can encrypt only. I can encrypt with SMIME. So let's say SMIME. Okay, I do SMIME. You see what happened. Do I have a Vela certificate? I don't have it. It should generate error. Okay, I send. Hey, this message is very clear. Microsoft has encryption this message because the following recipient, look at it, has missing or invalid certificate or conflict with supported this one, Vela. Vela don't have certificate. Okay, so you can only send unencrypted message. This is not what I want. So in order to get the Vela certificate, Vela have to register with authorized source, authority, and get a certificate and send. So I cannot do that. But let me actually check the Hilo. I have this Hilo certificate because he actually sent to me. So I sent. Yeah, it actually said Microsoft has the same thing. Why? So then I actually contacted, I have a Hilo certificate, but I cannot actually send. The interestingly is this. Okay. Hilo's certificate will not install into my certificate manager because these are the certificate. Let me see. The certificate manager, all the certificate, they actually is issued to me. So Outlook need to actually save the Hilo's certificate in some place. Where do certificate? It's very interesting. So what happens is I go here, I add Outlook to Outlook contacts. That is my local contact. Okay, add to contacts. Okay, so it said contacts. It didn't say any certificate, but when I click save, now look at this. Okay. Oh, sorry. What happened is, which means is actually the certificate, the recipient certificate, is needed to be on my machine or on my the certificate actually is saved into the contact list. Whenever you actually have the contact list, then we actually send. Okay. So now we actually have this one. Okay. Now I can send. Okay. So Hilo want to send to me, let's say SMIME, encrypt certificate messages. Hilo has to do the same thing. Add my signed message and do this. Now I actually have Hilo send me this thing. It is encrypt only message. Did you see when I send this one? Have this one. This is the most version. This something, and this one encrypt only. But he also sent me some of the certificate, SMIME messages. Look at these messages. You don't see this message, okay? But you actually see this. You actually see this log. Okay, that log it actually will show you. Do you see that? Okay. Did you see? Did you see? This actually in this encryption, it is very interesting. Hilo sent me a message, but using my certificate, the encryption layer. If you look at the encryption layer, the encryption layer is AES 256 encryption, and using my certificate to encrypt. Okay, encrypt. That is this picture, and we actually have this picture in. So when you actually send a message to the recipient, in order to encrypt it, you actually use the recipient certificate to encrypt using your own the sender's certificate to authenticate. So to authenticate, that is the core SMIME type. Okay. Now we have this, and the related but not is actually part of the SMIME. You can also do this. So let's say, but it is not SMIME. So let me actually see just Tony's message test. Okay, so you can actually do another thing. These are the ones do not forward. iManage LLM. iOS. This actually is not related to the is we call the permission. Okay, Microsoft has called what is called the IRM. Information rights. Management server. That management server will provide these templates. These templates actually after you actually send it out, the recipient is as you cannot forward this message. So Outlook won't allow you to forward. And I know, and Google and Yahoo also recognize this one. I think they must have some other like protocols there to say you cannot forward, you cannot print. I remember some of the options says you cannot print this message, you cannot forward this message, you cannot actually save the local copies of this one. And now, okay, now we really understand, all these like options. Okay, so let me actually check my thing. Okay, and okay, so I actually already explained this, okay, everything to them. Okay, now I'm going to actually a little bit about technical. So I actually try to solve their problem, Siemens problem, and I find out it's really interesting to see how it is that the Siemens is working and what actually problem they were facing and within. So I see have Siemens Siemens environment. Okay, so and and one more thing, and the certificate could be password protected or not. Okay, if you actually is password protected, okay, the message itself, okay, the encryption you need to enter the password. Okay, so I have this one in. Okay, let me check what I mean. Okay, okay, so I don't have Outlook right now. I look at Outlook. Uh, Siemens has its own certificate server. Okay, it's not like you buy from the Intrust or a Komodo and these kind of companies, but they actually have their own. Okay, so when you actually see this, but their certificates are password protected. So when you actually launch this, you will see what happens. Okay. Okay. This is the product of 9.36. Okay. Now, if I click on this, it actually will ask you what is your PIN. PIN is related to the certificate. Okay. So if you okay, so if you don't enter the PIN, look at this. Okay. Okay. It very annoying. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. And okay, so this message, I cannot, you see, I double click on it. It cannot be opened because without PIN, this PIN, it is actually is issued by me. Okay, even by me, if you actually the certificate, I actually encrypted. Okay, the recipient, it actually you needed the entrance. Now, uh, interestingly, I'm going to actually show you a couple of very weird thing. Okay, so let me actually just see if you actually entered. the pin, what will happen? Okay, so I actually enter the pin. Okay, I enter the pin. Now I can actually decode it. Okay, so now this is actually it's an interesting thing I want to actually demo to you. Okay, these are for the for like a technical. This message have IPM.node.SMIME, right? Then I look at the Outlook. Okay, use the Outlook Spy and look at this one. Okay, item use Outlook object model to look at it. Or if you look at Outlook object model, and you will see, okay, this message is IPM.node. So when I investigate this one, I really a little bit confused. Why this actually it is sometimes IPM.node and IPM.SMIME. Actually, it is like this. The SMIME is look like this. SMIME is encrypted, so it is actually is treated as attachment. Okay, so in the attachment, okay, I will show you one. So this is A9. If I use Outlook Mappy, where's where's the okay post okay, posting post this okay, so this one. Okay, so I want which one? The subject A9. Okay, A9. Okay, so this one a message. You see, it is actually also treated as SMIME. Okay, but if I look at this recipient table, it has an attachment. This attachment is a file name called SMIME P7M. But when you actually click on this one, okay, it is SMIME. In Outlook implementation, in Mappy, we actually see this message is SMIME. There's one attached SMIME message class. Attachment also has SMIME. Okay, and the Outlook object model, it actually is give you the.
Vincent, I thought we were looking at the wrong email. The subject was A9, not the test 9.
No, this one A9. Okay, A9. Okay, so this one, the message class is as a node. So Outlook is implemented like that. Okay, Outlook says, you have already have SMIME. Okay, because that information is encrypted. On top of it, it actually the SMIME, the inside this encrypted one, the message class called the IM node. The outside, it actually give you another message. It's called the shell. The message class, it is actually SMIME. So the in Mappy, it actually, if you access Mappy directly, you only will see the shell, because the inside stream, the encrypted stream is not decoded. Okay, but Outlook object model, it originally already decrypted for you. Okay, so that is the like a tricky part when you actually like a program and study this one. What actually here, what you see is the shell. Okay, but when you actually Outlook object model to see it, it already decoded it for you if you have the password. Okay, decoded for you and find out what is this. Okay, what is this? Now, one more thing. We actually so but if you actually use the Outlook spy, look at MAPI, okay, look at this MAPI. Okay, now look at attachment table. The attachment table. Okay, so uh, this is a real good one. Okay, you know, if you look at the this is like no the real no oh this has attachment. It is not a good one. Show you. So let me actually just without attachment. Okay, see the Outlook spy. How does it work? Outlook spy. It okay. It actually IP download. I look at attachment. It says no attachment. This is actually it is you know I used
Listen, we don't see your screen.
you don't see my screen.
Yeah, I think probably on the other window. Now we see, yeah.
So what happened is the 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 Outlook MAPI, this one it does not detect has attachment. Because what happened is in the 9.3x we reported they're not actually put the right attachment flag there or not. Outlook spy really find out it is good one because the MAPI that one it actually says here have attachment. That is the SMIME 7 P7. But Outlook spy, well, I think the Outlook spy did a much better job than the SMIME. I look at the internet and the social media, and I find out Dimitri, it actually is look at this attachment and the message and use the crypto API to decode it. Then it is correct one. Okay, so I think in this area, I think I sent a message to Dimitri. I say, how do you do this? And he didn't reply. Okay, he said that you just use the redemption DL to do that. Of course, I'm not we were not using the doing that to actually decode that. So the rule of this one is for Outlook implementation, it is actually in the MAPI. It is actually it have a out of shell that SMI inside is attachment, and this one it is more like evident if you actually look at our preview. Okay, I actually imported the SMI and look at the preview. We cannot preview it. Okay, we actually save a file. When you actually save a file, it actually has attachment. Okay, it has attachment. So that is the SMI 7. That message when doesn't matter. Actually, you use the MAPI to save it, or use Outlook model to save it. I find out is also the message class is the SMI. Inside there's attachment. That attachment is the SMI P7. If you import this file into your inbox, then look at the object model. Object model will decode it, and this one. That is why it, although is I want to actually show this. I cannot go back to my screen. Okay. How? Okay, so this one is this. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. And in our wait a minute. Okay, in our Outlook in the work 10, I actually also tested that. Okay. In work 10. Okay, hold on a second. I will show you this. So let me actually send the message. encrypted one. Oh, I don't need it. Okay. Okay, let me send myself one. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So now, if I actually encrypt it, okay, here, and it is if you use Outlook object model, it attachment it is not. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't detect. I think I actually find out we detected. Weird. Okay, so I actually already tested. It actually is working, but today is not working. Okay, anyway, and what happened is we actually in Siemens we encountered many of the different issues. These issues are when we imported them, and it actually not showing the our like our fields attachment icon not showing correctly, attachments multiple not working and all these kind of things. Okay, so but I actually fix most of them, and I want to actually show you one thing. Okay, so it's the last thing, and if you don't enter the path, Outlook as a very ambiguous about things about the MAPI and Outlook object model. Okay, so you whenever you actually doing it, you want to actually just check. Okay, so this time I'm not going to actually enter the password. Okay, the another thing is we can actually remove the remove the network smart card. In that case, it will. Okay, so now we can actually not. Okay, when you don't enter the password of the certificate, the object model it will running lots of problems. Okay, so here, did you see the properties they are not available anymore? That causing lots of havoc, in our code because we actually use like say MAPI object. Let's see, like a MAPI object is not available. You have attachment is not they're not available because it actually encrypted. You don't actually put like enter the password. The 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 the, the thing is you cannot actually see these kind of things anymore. Now if you actually go this one, people are complaining about it. So let's say save as, now you will see. If you save as, because this one is you don't enter this, it says your digital ID cannot be found by underlining one. Okay, but maybe it is actually doing a very different thing. Let's say I drag and drop to the desktop, it still lets you to actually save the file in there. I find out is if you don't actually enter the password, the maybe still lets you to save, but not the Outlook object model. And and uh, like right now Siemens actually like fight with me right now because in the case of a delegate, you know if you actually use delegate, the secretary does not have a lawyer's certificate, right? The password, but they still want actually filing, on the behalf of the lawyer. In that case, what do you want to do? Now, we actually can do is, in this case, we actually have to do is use the MAPI maybe to actually got, but that is like another like big topic. how do we actually solve, how do we actually accommodate this one, and all this. Okay, let me actually just go back. Okay, go back. Okay, so almost end, and so that has attachment. I already maybe publish password, please not working, and different things. Okay. Okay, so that's almost an hour, and I'm done here. Okay, so that's all about, as I know about like an Outlook and the SMIME. And
Thank you, Vincent.
if you have any questions, is the right time to ask. Otherwise,
Well,
Okay, so
we are running a little bit
oh,
over.
I present. Oh, it's almost 1 hour. It is a
Yes.
very long session.
So
That's all for me.
Yes, thank you, Vincent. This will be recorded. Has been recorded. It will go up on the Help Center site. Any questions that you have can be forwarded to Vincent. And please make sure to check that out next week when we post. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting today.
Thank you very much.